Welcome back to our election night special. We're going to take another look at our live map for those of you guys that are just tuning in. If we can pull that up real quick. So a little bit more than we had at the beginning of the show, for sure.
That's true. I do see Michigan, and that is showing President Obama. Obviously, that is Mitt Romney's home state. It doesn't look like that's going to go to him, and that is actually going to be 16 electoral votes that are going to go to President Obama right there.
Yeah, so again, I wouldn't really say that right now we really have any surprises. We're really waiting for that one surprise. We're like, wow, that's not what I was expecting.
And that's probably going to be sometime in the near future where we're going to get a Florida, projection, maybe something out of North Carolina or Virginia, as I said earlier. But what we're really looking for is Wisconsin, because that is our home state. Exactly. 10 electoral votes. Right now, we've got 1% of the total vote in, and it's a big one. We've got 552 votes for Mr. Mitt Romney, and we've got 670 for President Obama. Not too shabby for...
Puts Obama a little ahead.
Yeah, he puts him a little
ahead. But again, 1% of the vote in, we're looking at 1,200 votes, roughly 1,200 votes total. I don't think you can look at this number and really make an accurate prediction for the future there.
I don't even think that's 1% of Wisconsin.
One thing we do want to talk about is our Twitter hashtag for this show. We're going back to hashtag MUElection. So if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, hashtag MUElection is what we're kind of going with. And then also our website that we're streaming this on, obviously you guys know what it is, but feed it out there. It's www.muelection.org.
That it is. And we are now joined by Tyler Martell, who is a student here at Marquette. He is a member of the Republican Party and an alderman of Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Tyler, thank you for being with us this evening.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So Tyler, I understand you're definitely a member of the Republican Party, so you're looking forward to a Mitt Romney win tonight. Is that correct?
I'm hoping for one, yes.
So you're hoping for one, but why? I mean, easy question, but why?
Well, I think for our generation, one of the things that we have to worry about the most is our looming debt crisis. Mitt Romney's been the only candidate to put forward a plan to eliminate or reduce the national debt. Another one is Obama's health care bill that was passed in 2009. I think this is our one chance to get rid of it. I don't think it'd be good for the country. It raids Medicare, a lot of mandates, just a lot of extra stuff that wasn't really discussed when it was passed. And also, I think we need to reform our tax code to make it more conducive to business in the country.
What do you think was Governor Romney's strongest issue during the election season?
Definitely the economy. I think exit polls are showing that we're looking at different states that he's leading President Obama when among voters whose top issue is the economy.
And what do you think Governor Romney's biggest challenge was throughout this election season? Obviously, he was kind of battling an uphill climb against the president throughout most of the election and kind of had a nice push at the end. What do you think was that biggest challenge to overcome?
I think his biggest challenge was the perception that he was out of touch with the average American. He is pretty wealthy. We had that whole Occupy Wall Street movement, the 1%. I just think we're becoming a very polarized nation in terms of socioeconomic status, and Mitt Romney doesn't fit the average American. I think that's hurt him in this election.
Well, one thing that we're all familiar with in terms of Mitt Romney is his whole 47%. When something like that comes up, how do you take that? How do you defend that? How do you talk about that?
I wish he wouldn't have said it, first of all. I think that's something that hurt him in this election. I think from a pragmatic standpoint, he was talking to some of his donors, sharing some of his campaign strategy. Realistically, there is 47% of the country that is not going to vote for him regardless, because they're either Democrats, Democratic-leaning independents. So just realistically, both candidates were battling for that middle 5-6% that we saw in polls that were undecided.
Well, and I mean, you're in an interesting position because you're a college student yourself. You go to school, but you're not only a college student. You also do something kind of outside of college, a little bit of something. My biggest question is, what does this election do for someone that is our age, for someone in college? What do we have to look for?
I think we're just we have a choice in this election between two different paths for America. We have a choice for a path of more spending, more government involvement in our life, or lower taxes, less government spending, and just a more prosperous future. Mitt Romney has a plan for business. Barack Obama says we don't build our own businesses. I think you have two different candidates for the first time in a long time in American politics.
So, I mean, this election is definitely not something that's it's definitely two very, very opposing sides, you would say.
Yeah, we have a real choice for the first time in a long time.
I know that we do want to pull up a graphic from Illinois real quick. We got some new information about that. Illinois, 31% in right now. They do have 20 electoral votes. Kevin, what are you looking at when you see that?
That's a big lead for President Obama. Not a surprise, as we've talked about prior. 20% of the electoral vote, or 20% of the electoral votes, one less from 2008. So even though it is his home state, you know, he kind of wishes he had one more electoral vote for himself right there.
Well, and my question is maybe for you, how does a candidate attack those states where he knows he's pretty much sure he's not going to win, but what do you do to maybe kind of screw your numbers a little bit so you might get that, you know, might get a little more than people would expect?
You have money. One way in politics.
And lots of it.
Right. One way in politics to move numbers. Ad buys. We saw Mitt Romney doing this in a few states where he thought he might have a chance. Michigan, obviously, that was called for President Obama a little while ago. Pennsylvania, Minnesota. So if you see polls tightening, doing an ad buy in there where voters aren't as exposed to the messages of the candidates. In Wisconsin, we see a lot of political ads. In Pennsylvania, up until recently, they weren't seeing any. So,
well, and you know, like I said, I mean, it's hard to tackle those kind of states when you know you're kind of going in, you're not going to win the whole thing. I want to swing away from the presidential election just a little bit and kind of focus on, we have something going on in the state too. I look at Tommy Thompson, Tammy Baldwin. What is your opinion on that? You want to give us your insight on that race?
Yeah, I think Tommy Thompson will probably outperform Mitt Romney in the state just because he is so well known. He was 4 times elected governor of the state. He has the name recognition. And Tammy Baldwin's kind of a controversial figure in not only Wisconsin politics, but American politics. She was rated one of the most liberal members of Congress. So we have that extreme there, which might hurt her with independent voters and also Republicans. I don't think right now it's going to be deciding the balance of the Senate. We've seen a shift towards the Democrats in that section. But
I want to take a second. We've got Kentucky that we want to bring up as a graphic for you right now. Kentucky is one of those states. It's got 8 electoral votes, and currently 1.5 million is in, and that's 86% of the total vote. A slaughter by the look of it. Romney 60% over President Obama. So we can.
Again, are we surprised?
Not really. Yeah. Again, Kentucky was going Romney the whole time.
No surprise there.
Yeah. Do you expect Tommy Thompson to run away with this senatorial?
I don't think he'll run away with it, but I do expect that he will end up winning.
Okay. And I really do feel like that it's been a really tough election for these two candidates. A lot of bantering, a lot of back and forth. As we'll bring it back to the presidential election, though. $3 billion was spent on this election. Obviously, you had Russ Feingold and John McCain years ago kind of try and put an end to this kind of spending in Washington. Do you feel like it benefited one candidate over the other?
Money?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Obviously, we see Obama's running a very good campaign. I heard the Obama campaign was saying that Mitt Romney would be outspending their campaign. I don't think we saw that. I think the spending by the campaigns was very even. So I don't think money is going to have a really big impact on this election. The outside super PACs that are spending, the campaigns are spending their own money. So. Well,
I mean, it's still a lot of money, and it's a lot of money to run a campaign like this. Does it scare you that something like that involves that much money?
It really doesn't scare me that something involves that much money. I think we use our money as a form of our own free speech. The only reason that money is effective in elections is because people aren't paying attention and can be persuaded by money. People like me, the candidates could throw any amount of money that they wanted to at me, and I probably won't change my mind. It's the undecided voter out there that they need to spend the money and time getting their message out to them. So that's what costs. If Americans were more informed about their voting decisions at an earlier stage, then we probably wouldn't be spending as much money as we do in elections.
Well, Tyler, we wanted to thank you very much for coming on out. Currently, we're going to take it on over to a break. Again, hashtag MUElection and MUElection.org. Tyler, thank you again for being with us.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this.